What's up, guys? Okay, so we're back with the sketchbook. This case, I'm using the landscape version. There is also a portrait version, which you're welcome to use. It is designed if you want to have 2 pages sort of per window. Obviously, because more often than not, I'm working landscape. I tend to use the landscape one, but feel free to pick and choose. The only difference is in the landscape one, there's an option called facing pages. If you go to File, Document Setup, as this option is selected, which means the first page is on its own and then the next is staggered, very much like if you were designing a book or looking through a book. You've got the cover. As you open it, you've got a double page spread. That's about the only difference. So what we're going to do in this tutorial is just cover how we modify and edit the sketchbook. So hopefully this will be quite quick, and it's just showing you quick ways of working with the template. So as I've mentioned before, there are these different layers, and I would recommend normally working on the artwork layer. And also remember that you can hide the post-it notes. So the way that it's designed at the moment is that you can come in and obviously customize this. Excuse me, my mouse is a little bit zealous this morning, so I can just put in Graham's sketchbook demo. Okay, if need be, you can change wording if you prefer to put something else in here or remove it completely. It's entirely up to you. If you want to change the color, you can just select something. So if, for example, I didn't want these to be cover color, I wanted them to just be straight black, feel free to mod away as much as you wish. I'm just going to undo. So put your name on the cover. You can put a picture on the cover. It's entirely up to you. Scroll down to the next page. Post-it notes are just asking you to put a picture of yourself in these windows. Now I've temporarily embedded an image here. You may find when you open it, you can see it's saying 8 errors. When you open the document itself, it'll probably give you a couple of errors, just tell you some links are missing. That's purely because these are using low-res previews, and obviously there is no need for me to pass you some of these graphics that aren't needed. So really don't worry about the missing images. Most of these are later on with a few of these background images and textures, etc., which are just placeholders for now. We're going to be putting our own content in there. So just ignore any kind of false reporting, as it were. So you can just put an image in here. Now, the most common mistake or confusion for new users with InDesign is not understanding and not grasping the idea that you can have a frame. So in this case, I have these Polaroids, and the Polaroids are made out of a white rectangle or square and another rectangle or square placed within it and lined in the center. In this case, Polaroid has then been rotated to an angle, and it also has a drop shadow on the white rectangle. So you could easily make something like this just by stacking a couple of content rectangle frames on top of one another, filling one white, going up to effects, object and effects, and choosing drop shadow, etc. That's how this was built. Okay, but these are grouped. If I double click, I can actually see the white rectangle, or potentially I can go in and actually see the image. Now this is a frame it's containing. In this case it happens to be a rectangle. Coordinates, etc. are up here. You can see it's been rotated. But I also have within that an actual image. So I can move the image and size the image independent of the frame. And for some reason, for a lot of people, this promotes a lot of confusion. Now just think of it this way. Graphic designers are notoriously fussy. They often fall out with photographers because they want to frame images maybe differently than the photographer had intended. But they sometimes want to spin the image within the frame or place the image and only use a portion of it. There's a lot of genuine reasons why you might use frames in this way. It's also worth noting that a frame can be any shape, so you can use polygons, you can actually draw something with the pen tool. So if I wish to, I could create an irregular shape image, oops, holding down shift there, of any shape I desire. So this can be any shape, and then I can paste an image into it. So I'm going to use the white arrow, not the black, to select the image. I'm going to copy it and click on this, and I'm going to paste into, and you can see that the image goes straight into that object. And again, like I was doing earlier, I can then scale it, or I can ask InDesign to fill the frame proportionately, and it will do the scaling for me. And I can then move it around, scale it up. Now if I decided I wanted a different crop on it, I can zoom, I can also rotate, either way, positively or negatively, and I can just basically have fun with this. So I've got a frame here, which, as you can see, if I hover over it, is the green. It's green purely because it's on green layer. And then within that, I have an image which it highlights with a different color to show you where the image is. So you can see this is actually the same image, but a lot larger. Actually, it's not. It's a different image, obviously, because it's a different ratio. And then I also have an image here. Now you can also squash these images, but obviously with a portrait, I don't usually want to do that. 9 times out of 10, it's one of my pet peeves where people squash stuff to fit it in. It's probably because they're used to working with Word and not with an application that's flexible as InDesign. So the idea is that you either copy, or you come in, select this image, delete it, click on the grey box, go to File, hit Place. You don't have to use the Polaroids, you could just bring anything in, find a suitable image, hit Open, and boom, you've got that image within. You can rotate the image quickly up here, and you can then set about lining it more artistically, etc. Perhaps zooming it to get it to fit in. Okay, so it's dead easy to replace content. It also means that if you want several, let's just get rid of some of these. Like everything in InDesign, the quickest way to make things is often drag out a copy. So I hold down the Alt key, Mac or PC, and I can create multiple copies. Hold Alt and drag. You can see you get a double arrowhead, and I can just dump pictures on, and on each of these I might choose different crop. Might want to show this, just what I've got sat on my desktop. A wheel, or perhaps something else, a wing mirror, another detail of some description or other. Okay, so it's dead easy to use. Remember to use the white arrow if you want to just select the image. Usually the black arrow will select the whole group, so the whole Polaroid. So if I want to move the Polaroid, that's how I do it. If this one's now behind, you can see how they stack. It's just because I copied them, and obviously later ones sit on front. Oh, don't click on the image, click on the actual group. Let's click off first. I think with my screen capture software this is running a bit slow. Right click, and I can do a line, or range, sorry, bring to front. Okay, so this is the idea. Don't bother deleting the notes, just hide them later. So again, I'm just suggesting you put your name in here, your student ID, okay, and then if you want to change the wording, be my guest. Okay, that just helps make sure that when I'm marking, or anybody else is marking, if you use it from the module, we can instantly make sure we got the right person from point of view of grading. Obviously, if you were sending this out to a company, you might put your email address in there or something like that. rather than a student number that won't mean much to them. Next thing on the next pages is you can add additional pages using section headers. Okay, so all they are is using the master pages at the top here. I've got section headers, I've got a variation which uses a white box, and I've got a variation which uses lines, which in this case is the one I'm using. I'm using the B2 master here. You can see normally by hovering over, actually it thinks I'm using a B1 master, so I must have tweaked it at some point. And then you can change the background, place an image in the background, do whatever you want. If I want full image, the only thing to make sure is that any text can still be read when you put images in. So here all I did was I selected the page area, and I've just given it a hint of the background page color. So you can see I've used the cover color, but up here you should be able to see that I'm using a tint of it. Okay. Next thing, moving on. So again, just change these images. If you don't like the Polaroids, just bin them and just put images straight on. Next bit I want to go on to is the main page. When you've got a heading like this, because it's been created by dragging on a master, the point of masters is that usually you have content on there you're not going to change, like the position of a header or something. And so because of that, because it comes from a master, it's locked. Okay, so to release it, there's a shortcut. That's the only thing you need to remember really in terms of shortcuts in InDesign from point of view of this tutorial. And the shortcut for that is Control or Command if you're on a Mac, Shift and click. Okay, left click. So Control Shift click, and I can now go in, edit the text. So again, this might be primary research or homework task 1, whatever you want, and then this could be early homework task Sonos. Okay, just name it something that will make sense. Most important thing about Sketchbook is that it kind of flows, makes sense, and tells the story of your project. If I wanted to remove the white boxes, you can see I haven't released those. I've only released from the master the actual text. In this case, I would hold down Control Shift and click on the white boxes as well if I wanted to. Okay, just undo in this case. So again, just leave the post-it notes and you can delete them if you want. Likewise, if I wanted on this as well, put color in the background, I'd do that with the same thing, Control Shift click, and I could then add a color into that. Okay, this is solid, so I would probably want to reduce maybe the tint. It's up to you. So I might just go with, say, 30%. And then I can also bring up, as I mentioned before, effects. And I get the same layer. If you can't see them, you go to the window menu. I get the same sort of thing if you used to blending effects in Photoshop. So I can hit multiply so I can see the paper texture. I don't want to lose the sense that this is printed effectively on paper or colored paper. Okay, so moving on, you can see here I've just got, you can use the same thing, Control Shift click on the page, put an image into it. So great way of banging in PDF scans of real sketchbooks or anything else for that matter, Pinterest boards, whatever you want. Okay, so again, it's just reminding you to either drag on pages, new pages, etc. So I'll just show you that process. I just want another page in here. Just drag another one in. Okay, I want to put an image in here, Control Shift click, and then File, Place, and locate my image. Okay, move on to the next page, etc. So it's basically that easy. Okay, so this is just reminding you, you can have multiple objects. In this case, we have got a little bit of commenting on here. So I can move that onto the comments layer. So I've drawn like a marker pen effect